Hi, this is Sofia Magana, and I will be presenting the first term presentation for industrial organizational psychology. We are going to look at the most recent historical events that shape the course of research. We're going to try to understand the socialization process and why this matters. We're going to look at the impact of work and non-work conflict and how to reduce it, the evaluation of employee performance, and some of the possible organizational constraints. And so we're going to look at the most recent events that change industrial psychology. And the first, of course, is a name change. In the 1970s, industrial psychology changed to industrial organizational psychology because of the research that demonstrated that individual behavior was affected by other factors, including the groups and the structure organization of the company. In 1980, from 1980 to 1990, globalization challenged the world and changed the dynamics with organizations. The interest switched to maintaining a motivated workforce, which was difficult at the time. Then on September 11, we looked at the immediately after the towers incident and made it clear for every organization that it is imperative to have organizational emergencies prepared, to be prepared for emergencies, and made a rethink unemployment as well as the terms between organizations and employees. Also today, the impact that technology has created within organizations, it continues to be researched. One thing for sure is that organizations are benefiting from productivity like never before. Finally, the most recent event, I'll say that the most impacting, right? It's globalization as well, because it has created competition, which for many companies these translate to everything has to be better, and that includes staff, products, and the services that every organization has, to offer. So why is it important to understand the socialization process? First, we gotta understand that every organization, religious, academic, administrative, and even business, nonprofit organizations, they all composed and moved by people. Therefore, socialization is a big deal. And the process that the researchers came up with is everybody has to go through the organizational socialization process, which is the process to transform outsiders to insiders. And in order to be able to do this successfully, right, according to Jets and Britt, the individual has to be able to know, understand the history of the company, its politics, the people, the organizational, the goals, the values, organizational goals and values, and the performance proficiency. This process for Jets and Brits goes through 5 main stages. We have the anticipatory socialization stage, which is the first stage. And this is a personal assessment that the individual has made to clarify and or confirm if he is a great fit for the specific position that is offered. We have the encounter stage, where the individual, once that is hired, he now sees the company for what it is. We have then the change and acquisition stage, where the newcomer is in the process of adapting these new values. And the behavioral outcomes is that, well, I'll say that in between the change in acquisition and the behavioral outcomes, right, the individual is becoming comfortable. In the 4-stage behavioral outcomes, the individual is already comfortable with the values. He has fully accepted the company, and it's behaving in a way that it's impacting the organization positively. The fifth process is the effective outcome, and at this stage the employee is now highly effective, and he may even carry out all the responsibilities. How it looks like, it looks just like this. We have the learning process. In the learning process and this process, everybody wants to see the new individual, the new outsider succeed. So he's receiving support from his peers. We have the encounter stage, where acceptance of the work and its culture is imperative. Acceptance everything, its negatives, its positives. And the effective outcome is when the newcomer, and not newcomer anymore, my apologies, not a newcomer anymore, but a successfully socialized individual is now exceeding the expectations in his employment. The impact of work and non-work conflict. So, work and non-conflict impacts employees when the behavior in one area may conflict with a different area, such as work, for example, negatively or positively, right? When the effect is negative, then we can say that there is a work conflict or non-work conflict. Let's say a specific person has to stay late, and now he is not going to be able to pick up his children at a specific time when they're going, when they're coming from, at a specific time when they're coming from school. That is conflict, right? It's going to affect one or the other negatively, either family, or it's going to affect work negative. How to reduce work and non-conflict? Well, organizational support. Organizational support is one. It's easier to say it, but not easy to implement it, right? Institutional policies is needed when an organization is fully invested in supporting its employees. They have developed sometimes daycare, exercise facilities for stress, flex time. They provide flexible time, all of that. The second way to reduce work and non-conflict is by, the supervisor is very, very important. The supervisor has to be family supportive. And there's tons of research, I'll say, several research out there outlining how important is the supervisor for everybody else, right? The supervisor is a main key component that it's going to lead to better outcomes within the workplace. Personal coping skills. There is different personal coping skills. We can go through time management, seek flexible time, and other self-care activities that are going to help reduce the conflict as well. Even stress, right? We mentioned all of the the coping skills and all of that. The outcome, it's positive for the employee. Now he is fully socialized. What about the positive outcomes? How can we measure the positive behavior from employees? Well, according to JECS and BRIT, we want to make sure that we are evaluating effectiveness, productivity, efficiency, and utility. We want to perform, and we can rate by performing. I have an example here. We can rate by performance on tasks rated from training needed to exceed expectations. We can rate this from job-specific tasks, proficiency from training needed to exceed expectations. We can go through demonstrated effort from rated from poor to exceed expectations, or we can even change it to training needed to exceed expectations. Supervising leadership and management, administration, all of this, we can rate it from training needed to exceed expectations. There's different ways that we can rate them. For me, this is the best way to rate evaluation and employee performance. What are the limitations of every company? Well, let us not forget that we are definitely working with people, and so there's different personalities, and because of all these different personalities, and all the experiences that people go through, we're going to go through counterproductive behaviors. Situation based experiences that may lead to counterproductive behaviors. There's opportunistic experiences, right? People is going to behave in a specific way that's going to lead to counterproductive behavior. There's going to be stress in many different areas, including meeting deadlines, etc., etc. Some norms are not going to be okay for some individuals to another, so there's going to be counterproductive behavior. And even some individuals may not feel treated fairly, and they'll feel there was some sense of injustice, and so the counterproductive behavior is going to show up, right? There's different ways that people may act, like, for example, wasting time. They may probably feel like withdrawing or not going to work, right? There's gonna be other issues like sabotage, theft, violence of use, drug and alcohol use, and even sexual harassment. All of these are obvious, right? Pretty self-explanatory, different types of counterproductive behaviors that may affect a company directly and indirectly because of the limitations, and because we're dealing with people, there's always going to be conflict. So the presentation for industrial organizational psychology, the importance of socialization process, the importance of the socialization process, and some of the